We all love games that have a strong musical theme, and we have lots of examples in mind. The fact that we expect this, and that there exists lots of examples, actually comes in good part from the technical limitations of the genre in its early days. Video games lacked resources and ways in which to use the sound, so when developers had to make the same music loop for hours, it better be good music. Developers have been partially maintaining this kind of pattern, and it's commonly accepted that video games must have strong and rememberable themes. But here's the thing. Nowadays, games are more and more realistic. Game mechanics are becoming more complex, diverse, and interesting. The way everyone's playing games has changed a lot since the 80s. The durability of the games have also been expanding a lot since storage capacities exploded, and everyone can notice the tracks being played over and over in a loop once it's heard 4 or 5 times in a row, or tens of times during a playthrough. There has been a lot of critiques on the matter, but imagine that Zelda Breath of the Wild had the same 4 minutes epic music track looping forever. May it be magnificently composed for the whole duration of your exploration of the map. That is, you'd hear the very same thing in a tremendous amount of different contexts over 20 or maybe even 80 hours of your game time. I actually think some of the fans would accept this, but it would be because the franchise is surrounded by a very special context. Because in a Zelda game, players are used to experience strong themes over and over again. But either way, it seems to me that no one can deny that the infinite repetition of one only musical structure can't have a connection with every possible issue and context met while exploring. The ambitions of the player are changing. His actions, his knowledge and desires, his abilities, his perception and feeling of the experience he's having in an environment that's also possibly changing, along with what it asks from him. Nowadays, game developers have understood this. That's why they often use dynamic systems that answer to different parameters evolving through the games. However, this approach usually doesn't solve everything, and although it suits more to following the actions and choices of players, it can be weaker and less recognizable than a full written, immutable musical theme. In fact, when the music is interactive, its structure is dictated by the player's behavior. Theoretically, the structure can become nearly anything, and answers to few musical rules. It also asks more time from the composer to create an interactive music, and the overall instantaneous quality of the music can be perceived as lower by the players if they don't find themselves in very diverse situations. Although it has the ability to be very diverse, it can happen that it doesn't show its potential when played by a single person, but only once a certain amount of players have experimented the game each in their own way. The lack of control of the composer on the structure of the pieces also limits his proficiency, in a way that he isn't able to convey emotions via precise sequences anymore, like it's usually done in music. So, how could a game benefit from a music that has a strong rememberable musical theme and structure, without giving up all the many benefits of an interactive system? Actually, several ideas come in mind, but today I'll show you the option of generative music. What is generative music for games? The principle is quite simple. Let chance decide of certain defined parameters. These parameters may be structure, melody, harmony, tempo, the instruments used, or whatever else judged relevant. The concept actually isn't new and goes back to at least Johann Philipp Kirnberger in 1757 and later the Musikalisches Würfelspiel, that is a dice game that was played by musicians in the late 18th century. One would throw dice and determine which segments were played. Someone would then play them on an instrument in a sequence, and it always sounded good, because the sequences were composed to work whatever may be the chosen segments. In short, the composers making this type of music have to be sure that segments that come one after another have logical connection, and therefore there can be as many combinations as thinkable. I won't go deeper on this, because I like to focus on its particular usage in video games. This technique can be used to create diversity, to generate some unique textures, or more frequently, to create really long tunes, where strict repetition isn't perceived anymore. This is precisely what I'll be showing you in the second part of this episode. A generative music I made for the game Shadow of the Colossus. My friends Nicolas, Tristan, Jérémy, Emilia, Eliezer, and me all composed for a different section of the game. You can go check out what they did while you wait for the next part, where I'll present to you what I've been working on. A generative music for the exploration sections. See you soon, and go check my Patreon if you want to support me or for some special previews and teasers.